And here we are. Welcome to the program. This is really, I guess, the last full day. Or I guess Biden's still around Saturday and Sunday, and Monday is sort of like his last half day because Trump is going to go inside. It's like hasn't happened since, I think, Reagan. It's gotten so cold in D.C. Oh, it's getting cold. It's going to get colder. It's going to get colder. I just can feel it. I mean, we're trying to predict what's going to happen, and already you're starting to see signs that show just an overall deference to Trump, an overall sense that, okay, yeah, you got it. This is yours. Let's see how this works. And I see it from all sides. I mean, you get reports that, Democrats who are really anti-Trump, some like, the guy from Pennsylvania, Mr. Hoodie, or nothing but hoodies. And now the word is, he's coming over because he's seen the light. And you see Eric Adams, mayor of New York, going down to Mar-a-Lago because you got to work with Trump. Actually, it is the most adult, it is the most mature way of dealing with it. It just, Trump is so dirty and nasty politically, you wouldn't see him offer the same grace if the Democrats won. I mean, you saw that when he, claimed the Democrats didn't win in 2016, right? Or rather 2020, excuse me. 2020. We're talking about January 6th, right? And yesterday, it's still an issue because you had Pam Bondi, who wants to be the head of the Department of Justice. She couldn't even say point blank that, Trump lost. She couldn't say that. She could say, I recognize that President Biden is the president, but she would not go as far as saying that Trump lost. I mean, you can assume, but no, you can't. All this is just a way that Trump's cronies try to assure Trump that they're his person, that they are in the bag for him because they're in their positions only because they're serving at Trump's pleasure, right? Certainly that's why Hegseth is still in the running, because everyone perceives that, Trump wants Hegseth, so we better get it for him. Trump wants Kristi Noem as the head of Homeland Security, so we got to do that. Even though Kristi Noem, I don't know, she's the dog killer, from the Dakotas, the Dakota governor, South Dakota governor. I suppose as a bureaucrat, she isn't bad, but it's unclear who's going to be calling the shots there. If it's going to be this guy Homan, who's under her, or if she's going to be the boss. It's like whoever pleases Trump is going to be the boss. And immigration is going to be one of those things that we're going to be looking at. I mean, that's one of the chief things. I mean, Trump on day one is going to unleash dozens of executive orders. And remember, he is more knowledgeable. He knows what works. He knows what doesn't work. He knows that if he puts it out there, he knows it has maybe a 95% chance of happening. There's no way to stop it. They just have been planning for this. So when he says, I only want to be a dictator on day one, I think we better believe him. And I think we better prepare for the worst. And what's interesting is that if you're looking at the stock market, maybe it's a little counterintuitive. The final days of Biden, the market's up, the market's high, which is a good time to sell. You're selling into the rising market. Okay, great. There's no market on Monday, MLK Day, but there is a market on Tuesday. And once those orders start coming in, the executive orders start, the impact is felt, you might see a reversal on Tuesday. That's just sort of my feeling. You might see a reversal because the Trump guys are ready, or the tech guys, the tech bros who love Trump are ready. They're pretty much ready to cash in. I mean, Elon Musk is already cashing in, right? He gave $250 million to the campaign, and he gave countless millions to the inaugural party as the other tech bros. The other tech bros gave about $1 million. It's going to be a huge bash. Talk about government waste. But I don't know. I think the way the market works, it's sort of counterintuitive. They'll probably dip on Tuesday and then rally. And then maybe by the end of the week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, maybe the rise will come up as things stabilize. But it's going to be rocky. And I think we're in for, I mean, imagine the entire country on pins and needles like those who lived in LA during the LA fire. Like right now, the LA fire is somewhat under control. There are embers that they have to watch out for. The winds have died down, though. So, I mean, it's the combination of the Santa Ana winds, the 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 mile per hour winds. If they were down in the 10, 20, 30s, not that bad. But you had the embers, the winds, an ember starts, being blown into the dry vegetation, then you have fire. And it's actually easier to fight it at night because you can see the embers. So they have it a little better under control while the fires are, have somewhat died down to more reasonable levels. People are going back. The stories you're seeing are about people trying to get back to normalcy. That's not going to happen for a long time. But if you can imagine how LA has been or will continue to be, because people, you're not going to see fire news wall to wall 24 hours anymore because the flames are, like I said, unless there's some kind of flash fire because of an ember and some wind and some dry vegetation, it's pretty much under control. Pretty much. I mean, more in control than zero containment. But you can see by the coverage that there's a kind of relaxing in terms of understanding that this is the normal. This is the normal for LA. Now imagine this kind of situation for the entire country. And the fires are the embers that are there, and Trump is a Santa Ana wind blowing those embers around, creating a spark, creating a fire, all these political fires. That's the metaphor. We have been set up for this metaphor by the LA fires. It's not a pretty scenario. It's not a country that you got to fight for it. I mean, those people who have survived the fires and are trying to get back, they're crossing their fingers and hoping on hope, hoping that the bureaucracy doesn't kill them, hoping that they can find the wherewithal in the system I'm reading about this woman who's in her 70s. Her husband is dead. They moved in when they could buy a house. It was still $500,000 or so, but they bought the smallest house, and in time before the fires, their house grew in value to like $1.5 million. The woman's husband has passed on. She lost her house. She has insurance, but the insurance only covers like $800,000. Well, I mean, you can replace the house. I mean, I was looking at my fire insurance. They cover for, a couple $100,000 for loss of use, so you can rent someplace, as well as pay your mortgage. At the same time, sometimes your mortgage gives you a break, but they might give you 60 or 70% of what your home value is worth, because some of it is the land, right, versus the actual building. But this woman is saying, I don't know, I'll have $800,000 to rebuild. Is that going to be enough, considering the cost of lumber and where I am? And am I going to be able to find a contractor who will build that kind of house? Well, if that's the money you have, I mean, for many people, it's going to be, here's the money to replace. It may be that they sell their land to somebody. Somebody's going to want their property. And hopefully it's not a greedy developer. Hopefully it's not someone looking for a fire sale. But it's going to be hard for those, a lot of families. And I'm talking about the middle-class families who were house rich and now find themselves scrambling. And it happens to people no matter how old they are. Like if they bought their house, first home, they're in their 30s or 40s, they got in with the help of, mom, dad, or, they got good paying jobs. They have nothing now. Or older families like this one woman I just talked about. It's just not easy. It's a difficult America. It's a hard America. And that's the way it is in LA. And that's the way it's going to be throughout America in the Trump era. I don't want to call it the Trump regime because we don't know if it's a regime yet. It probably will feel like a regime, but the Trump era. And it's all because of, I said the political fires he starts are a result of him being the Santa Ana winds coming through, blowing things down, doing things unexpected, having people whisper in his ear telling him that, oh, tariffs are good. Tariffs are not good. In terms of being inflationary, tariffs cause inflation. And that's what Trump is planning on doing. Putting tariffs against China, Mexico, Canada, everything. You tell me how that's going to impact you as a consumer and what you spend that comes from Canada, China, Mexico. I mean, they're already talking about the guac index. The avocados are going to be through the roof. And isn't this funny? This is what America wanted. America wanted someone who's going to control prices. Instead, they bought into Donald Trump, knowing that he's not ideological. He's liable to do anything except the thing that you want that will help you. And what if prices go up? What if it is inflationary? All the things that he's planning on doing. As 60 Nobel laureates have said. I mean, we have been warned, right? Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, they were warning us. And people still, to my surprise, I'd go out into the country and like talk to people and say, yeah, you can't vote for her. She's just a word salad. Oh yeah, have you heard Trump lately? Oh, we can't vote for Biden. He's just a bumbler. Yeah, yeah. Did you see him on with Lawrence O'Donnell on MSNBC? He was no bumbler. He was no bumbler. I mean, Donald Trump was ready. I mean, excuse me. There, I bumbled there. Joe Biden actually was kind of sharp, kind of witty. He said, and the red states didn't like it when he said, "Oh, you know, red states, we had to help out the red states more than the blue states." He said some good things yesterday on that MSNBC final interview. But Lawrence O'Donnell has a history in the Senate as a staffer. He worked for he worked at Tip O'Neill in the House, or the Speaker of the House. Oh, excuse me. He worked for Moynihan in the Senate, and that's why Lawrence knows so much about the Senate. But he was able to talk to Biden almost like, hey, we've known each other a long time. I think it was interesting that Biden doubled down on the whole oligarchy thing. And mind you, that's probably the historic thing in Biden's farewell speech on Wednesday. That Biden said the O word, and see my column in Inquirer.net. I'll put it on Substack also. The whole thing about oligarchy. Filipinos know oligarchy. People who don't study political science, they don't, oligarchy, is that something that you deal with by using a screening like a colonoscopy? I used a colonoscopy to get rid of my oligarchy, and I'm fine now. No, I mean, oligarchy is not, it's not a common word, because most people who are oligarchs don't want people to know that they're oligarchs. Most people who are oligarchs want to say, shh, I got the money. I'm using my politician as a puppet. I'm in control. But shh, don't mention it. See, people don't want to mention it. But now it's out in the open. And you say, oh, come on. You mean to say that the Democrats and Joe Biden, they didn't have their oligarchs? I mean, they're all wealthy. Well, it's one thing to have a million or two. It's another thing to have 100 billion or two. I mean, the billionaires are so rich. And how did the billionaires get so rich? Tech. It's the tech thing, right? And that's why it was the oligarchy with the tech. What did Biden call it? The tech industrial complex, which is Silicon Valley, which is cryptocurrency. That's all part of it. Billionaires. That's how we turn the analog world into digital, and people make money. It's like taking a plow and going through the soil and saying, hey, we're analog, and now we're tilling the soil, we're digital. And that's how they made their money. Robber barons. And as Biden pointed out in his speech, he said, look, in the old days, we just say, hey, just pay your fair share in taxes. But no, the inequality grows. And so now that's how we got this oligarchy in a democracy. And as I point out in my my column in the Inquirer.net, Filipinos know oligarchy. Filipinos know oligarchy. I saw it when I was there in the 80s. I saw it when I was covering protests here among Filipino Americans who were protesting the Marcos dictatorship. Who was in control? Marcos, propped up by not just America, like President Reagan, President Bush, but it was Marcos propped up by American power, American presidency, and the oligarchs of the Philippines. At this point, I should bring up Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez, College of Ethnic Studies, Asian American Studies, San Francisco State University, my friend. Because Professor Dan, tell me, how are you? Are you good?
I'm okay. I'm worried
Hey,
about our choppy connection again, but it looks good right now.
all right. So let's get right into it. Tell me about oligarchy. I mean, I saw the oligarchy in the
Yeah, this
'80s.
is it's really a pretty simple term,
Yeah.
but it is not often used. But it is accurately all it does is at least says rule by a very small group of people. That's the least okay. How can I say aggressive definition? The most aggressive definition, however, is
Yeah.
rule by a small group of people for self-serving intent. Okay.
All right. Now, when you get the money aspect in there, because
Well,
it's a rule of the small group of people, but a
yeah, it's
small group
well,
of the
it's
wealthy.
wealthy people. That's true. Yeah, wealth. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Wealth is a substantial
Yeah.
factor.
Because if it were
Um,
just a small group of know-it-all people, like in the media, that wouldn't be a very powerful group, really. I mean, they would they would control, the books in the library and things.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. They might not be powerful at first, but if they really did control
Ah,
communications, which is the objective of
yeah,
yeah. What did the
yeah,
Chinese do?
controlling communications. But if you had the money and you had the wherewithal and you were in charge of all the communications, in charge of everything, I mean, the wealthy part, that's the
Yeah.
scary part. I mean, you want to talk about siloed news and you say, well, wait a minute, we own the silos. The silos are us.
Yeah, it
I mean,
the exclusivity of the small group
yeah,
is guaranteed or by their wealth.
right, right.
Okay.
It
So
is a small,
I think what was more important about the definition
right. It is a small group. And so
yeah.
when I heard Biden say that in his speech on Thursday, I really thought, well, yeah, no one talks about it because everyone wants to like keep it hush hush because it happens. Money is in politics. Money is wrecked politics for everybody, and no one wants to blow the cover on it necessarily. But by saying oligarchy, you are blowing the cover on it, and it goes back to Citizens United and the Supreme Court upholding that, and what makes the Supreme Court corrupt right now because of the moneyed interests that are buying they're getting their hooks into people like Alito and Clarence Thomas. It's all money. It's all money.
Yeah. 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 I think it's money that shows that Alito
Thomas.
and Thomas were corrupt. Any part shows their lack of ethics and their vulnerability to corruption. But
Mm.
the reality is they have always been, right and on the edge. I'm saying right as in conservative, but
Mm.
right on the edge of radical right
Oh,
thinking.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. And so they've always been there. They've always been in that position. It's just that they've had to mitigate the strength of their expression because there was a closer balance on the court, right? Even when it was 5-4 majority conservative, so there
yeah,
was a closer balance on the court. When it was 5-4 the other way, which was a very brief period of time when those guys were first appointed, right? Um, they seemed normal. Remember, Thomas never said anything. The most that he did for the majority of his presence on the court was to maybe join in somebody else's opinion, and
he
he
didn't
only
really
started
start off
really.
last 5 years maybe during the
Yeah,
Trump
that's
era.
right.
He started off
That's right.
the
It
first Trump
started
era.
in the later portion of the Trump era. That's correct. That's
He was
correct.
always
Now,
just like
once again,
Silent Sam. Even Alito was silent, you know. But
uh, well, on issues around religion,
yeah.
uh,
Oh,
and free speech. Alito was not so, he spoke up every
That's
once
true.
in a while.
Yeah.
You know,
For the Catholics, and the anti-abortionists,
yeah,
he would speak
yeah.
up. Alito would speak up,
Uh,
and for the
and it was the things that he wrote about, and when he was in conflict with the liberals,
Mhm.
was usually about morality,
Right.
morality issues, and that really kind of is laughable, given given his clear ethical breaches, right?
Yeah.
And the joke of it is that the court, you know, whether or not it has ethical rules, right, rules around ethics and behavior, right, it doesn't observe them, and there's no punishment. Okay,
Yeah. Well,
so they're
here's
not
the thing.
subject.
Here's the thing. When Donald Trump puts his hand on the Bible on
No.
Monday, it is not a joke, but it would appear to be a joke when you have the felon in chief swearing in on a Bible as under oath, taking the oath as the president of the United States. It just it would be comic if it weren't tragic, and it's tragic more than it is. Well, it's real, but the fact that it's real makes it tragic. So I I don't know how anyone can say, well, I have to be moral because or ethical because Donald Trump is a convicted felon and he's president. I mean, it almost like throw your morals and ethics out the window in
Yeah,
public life in America. It's and
it
in
is. It
some
is. You have to dispose of that. That's
yeah
the only way that you can be competitive, right? Is to use whatever means necessary to acquire
well
power. Uh, you know,
yeah, and that's what's really sick. I mean, when Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, says he's going down there, when even Gavin Newsom says, okay, he'll raise the flags, which are lowered for Jimmy Carter. He'll raise them along with some other red state governors because they want to honor Trump. I mean, there's this capitulation, which I mean, it's almost like they're saying, okay, look, Donald Trump can get away with it. We got to play by his rules, and it means we've got to do some things we might not ordinarily. I mean, it seems is that our new ethical standard? Donald Trump
it
got away with
seems
it.
to be.
Let's find out how he did it. And
Seems
then
to be.
do people?
Well, look at Jody Ernst. Look at Jody Ernst. Jody Ernst
Yeah,
backed off. Okay, and
yeah.
and and so the man looks like he's going to be approved.
Oh, you're talking
And
about Hegseth.
because yeah, and people were looking at Hegseth and looking at Ernst and saying, well, we believe that a lot of commentators were saying that if she stands against him, that other people may join her in that, and then he'll fail.
Yeah,
Well, she didn't stand against him, and that, reflecting on that, it was about money.
yeah.
It was
Oh,
just what you were talking about. She got threatened. Well, they do the usual thing. We're going to primary you, and then when big donors who
yeah.
have in the past supported her campaigns say, we're out if you don't vote up Hegseth, that was it. It clinched. It clinched her vote.
This is the thing that sickens me, because and maybe this just says something about me rather than them. It says something about them, but maybe more about me. I mean, I have in more than one occasion been faced with this
Hmm.
idea of you do it this way or that's it, and then they went after my job. They went after you're not going to be working here, and or if you do this, you work here. And I always chose, well, then I won't work here. That was always my choice. And, you know, so it hurts me when I see people
Oh
who
yeah.
we should trust,
Oh
people
yeah.
who, we should trust their senses. And then they fail. They fail us morally. Um,
Well, and you all of the jobs that I know that you're referring were all had something to do, some form of journalism. Whether it be TV, radio, or print, and it it bothers me that you had that kind of an experience. You you would think that having a sense of true journalistic integrity, right? Um, which is, it has its limitations, right? Because there's a difference between editorialism and
Yeah,
journalism. Okay, what we're doing on this show, a lot of it is taking basic journalistic information and data and then expressing our own perspectives about it, and that's
yeah. Well,
editorialism.
yeah, reported
Now,
opinion. Yeah,
now the question then becomes, yeah, with journalism, it's accurate. Is it accurate? And
yeah.
fact based. With editorialism, is it
Well,
honest?
or is it
Okay,
based
is it?
on? It still can be fact based, but I will say that.
Yeah, it has to be. I'm saying it has to be honest
Oh
on
yeah,
top of
yeah.
being fact
Well,
based.
yeah, but now here's the thing. And this is not all my jobs in media, but in one particular job when I was a talk show host, and many crossroads, right? Where I could have said, okay, everyone's going to the right. I guess if I want to keep my job, I better support, going after immigrants. I better support, the conservative values of Rush Limbaugh and the conservative values of other people, who are at this radio station. And it came down to, well, Emil, this is like a Broadway show. We're doing it this way. Are you with us or are you against us? And if you're not going to be with us, you can't play. It was as simple as that. And I know people who would say, all
Yep.
right, it's like I'm an actor. I will be the bad guy. I will play this. And some made millions of
Sure.
dollars, made the most in Bay Area broadcasting history because they made that choice. And of course, they lost my respect because that wasn't why I did this kind of broadcast or this kind of, talk radio. But there were people like that. And, you know, but when it came to me, I said, I got to be principled. And every time, this is more true with talk radio than in the television or other kind of news radio that I was in. But when it came to talk radio, oh, you know, you can't be conservative. You can't talk about being, anti-abortion. You can't talk about being pro-life. I'm sorry. You got to.
Well, I knew that I blew getting any more national interviews by ABC affiliates because I got called one time from New
Yeah.
York, and this was during a period when uh, who was it? When uh, Mrs.
Yeah.
Aquino, when Corazon Aquino was, I think it was her first year, and there was in her administration an attempt. Actually, there were members of the
Yeah.
left, right? The liberal left, and what people in the Philippines and elsewhere, like the Philippines, consider left progressives and radicals. And the reality is that these people were not by any means radical. Okay, did they have strong progressive views? Yes. Did they have reformist views? Yes. Did they have criticisms about past administrations and the structure of government and the practice of the courts? Yes. But they were all legitimate. They were
Yeah.
fact based, moral, and ethical positions. Okay. And this is in the post Marcos period, her first couple of years. And so, Gringo Hunasan was being really
Right. The
active,
general.
right? With from the right. Well, I think he was only a colonel at
Yeah.
the time, but yeah, I think he either elevated himself or got elevated to general. But I happened to be going in and out of the Philippines. I was there a couple of times during that period, right? And so I got a call from New York, and they said, "Yeah, we'd like to talk to you." And of course, it's a nasty call because it comes at 5 o'clock, right? They wanted me to talk on an 8 o'clock show, and so they're saying, "We're going to talk to you. We're going to call you at 5 o'clock." And I said, "Okay, fine. What is it about?" And he said, "Well, we want your perspective on what's happening in the Philippines." And I said, "Okay." They make the call, and then they start asking me questions about the Aquino government, and it was kind of leading stuff that implied that it's the lefties that are making trouble in the Philippines. I said, you know what? And this was live on
Yeah,
KGO
yeah.
locally, right? It went national, and it was live on KGO locally. And so they said, yeah, what about Joker Arroyo? People like that. And they're doing. And I said, I don't know why you're asking me about these people when the immediate attack on government, and in both verbally and in press, and also physically, right, with the threat of military uprising, it's coming from the right. Why are you saying these things? Why are you asking this train of questioning, this direction of questioning, when the threat is coming from the right? Silence. I mean,
Well,
it was like I
why do you
slapped them,
suppose they wanted
and
why
they were
they
shocked.
wanted to be critical of of Aquino? Is that it?
They- I Whether or not they wanted to be critical of Kino, I think they were looking indirectly, at least, maybe critical of Kino, but they were looking at some of the members of her cabinet that were in question by a lot of people. And eventually, Arroyo did leave
Yeah,
the cabinet, right? He was
yeah.
forced out, right? And I don't know what the specific details of that were, but he was one of the guys that people looked as this liberal
Yeah.
exception, right, to
Well,
on the cabinet. And we thought that that was a sign
all
of
right.
good
So
faith,
the point is
but
there are times when uh, there is a
well, I never
yeah,
got called again. I mean, I was put on a blacklist
yeah.
after that, I'm
Well,
sure, by ABC,
I
and I
think
never got
this is
called
the
again.
thing about the people who command the Rolodexes. They have people who are on the left, or on the people on the right, and
Yeah,
they
that's
want
right.
to orchestrate the conversation. So you have this guy who's on
Yeah,
the
of
left and
course.
this guy's on the right, and then you're going to have pretty music, and they're going to argue. But if you have one too many on one side, and one's a balance, this is the way these kind of shows work. And unfortunately, it's not necessarily the most honest discourse, because of the
Well,
bias.
this was definitely
Yeah,
a very this was a, yes, there was an
yeah,
instant bias. There was an instant bias, and I felt very abruptly
yeah. Well,
uncomfortable. And I tried to answer them as
yeah.
honestly as possible, but it was
Uh,
clear they were leading me in a place that was
all
contradictory
right.
to
So
fact. I mean, it was
this still goes
factual.
on today, and
Yeah,
we see, and this
absolutely.
is the thing. But but we're talking about Trump honestly. We're talking about Trump realistically. And so here's the
You
thing.
know.
One more point about Biden. Biden's going, and he
Oh yeah,
said
of course.
in that interview with Lawrence O'Donnell yesterday, he said they talked about all the great things that he was doing for infrastructure, and he said, "Oh, we actually had to help the red states more because they had screwed up on supply chain issues, and the red states were, the red media was, up in arms about that. Oh, Biden, he's like, and then and actually there was,
Yeah, they kept blaming him and saying they actually
yeah,
lied. They actually said that the feds were
yeah.
withholding assistance,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Remember
but
that stuff, right?
but the reaction to that, and to or to Biden's uh, farewell address, as well as his final interview today, the Atlantic came out with a piece just saying, "Hey, Biden's legacy, unfortunately, is going to be tarnished because someone people weren't able to tell, to convince him that it was time to go, and that's above anything else." That's going to be the legacy. What do you think? Are people going to remember some of these
Wait,
great
wait.
things?
That somebody forced him out. Wait, that somebody forced him out. That they convinced him that he should
Yeah,
leave.
uh,
That's going to be the
the
tarnish.
legacy is it's
I
well, no,
think
the
that.
legacy is that he did not. he did not go on his own. That he had to,
Okay,
that he
that's
had
more
to be
like it.
forced out. Yeah,
That's more
that he
like
had to be forced out.
yes, yes.
And
I don't know. I think that's partially true at the least. It has some merit.
yeah,
Okay. He clearly kept saying, I beat him once. He stopped short of saying, I'm the only guy that can
yeah.
beat him, right?
He said that
But he
though.
said, I can beat him once, and
He
I
has
have
said
the.
that. Yeah,
He did say that. He did say that at least
yeah,
once that I recall. But that was a big
yeah.
mistake. To say that was really a. There
Well,
were
I mean,
already rumors that he right from interviews and
yeah,
all the rest of that, and he did stumble on occasions, even when he
yeah,
was during when he was overseas visiting other countries, but they were really rather mild errors. Okay, but
yeah. It was.
however mild they have been, however mild they were, it still served the critical perspective. It still could be used as an indication of his faltering mentality, his faltering
Yeah,
ability,
it
intellectual
was
ability.
totally unfair. I mean, I was watching him talk on MSNBC with Lawrence O'Donnell yesterday. And I thought, you know, he's perfectly fine. You know, Donald
He was
Trump couldn't.
sharp. He was
Could,
sharp.
yeah, Donald Trump couldn't
His
have had.
speech was sharp too. I mean, he was good,
Yeah,
but
he wasn't
but
sick. He
a
wasn't.
lot of people no no. Well, but he's loose now, right? I mean, he knows he's on his way. So he's a lot less stiff. But anyway, the thing that's going to tarnish his legacy is two things, right? One of them was the withdrawal from Afghanistan,
Yeah,
because because he takes the blame for how badly it was run, by the
yeah,
military, right? And so it was military leadership that screwed that up, and you can't even the leadership can't be responsible for every single thing that happens to people on the ground. There was a limited number of people that could defend the people that were helping Afghanis escape. Right, that was really the reason they stayed there, and the reason they were exposed was because they were trying to help people get out.
yeah.
Right, it reminded me a lot of the fall of
Oh yeah,
Saigon
oh
and
yeah,
how that looked.
yeah. But the other
Uh,
thing though is that the conditions for the withdrawal, unfortunately, were set by Donald Trump, who then who pretty much tied Biden's hands. You know, and so he
yeah.
couldn't be as
Well, remember the criticism remember the criticism that Obama got because he had a set
yeah,
date for
yeah,
withdrawal, right? From
yeah,
Iraq, and then everybody said, "Yeah, man, you're just telling them what you're going to
right,
do." Well, what did Trump do? He set a set date almost a year in
yeah.
advance, man. I mean, what the hell is that? Okay,
It's funny. It's
the,
funny now.
the people
People are
didn't.
recognizing. People are yeah,
Oh,
they're
it's
recognizing things
terrible.
like that, and so when you ask them
Okay,
to spell out what they're going to do, they'll use it as an excuse not
yeah,
to say their plan. Well, I'm not going to give the
okay.
enemy or give away our plans to the
Well,
enemy.
for me, with my bias, which is critical of Israel, and I've been critical of Israel's treatment of
Mhm.
Palestinians, uh, ever since I was an
Yeah.
undergrad.
Okay.
Right?
A long
I
time.
mean, I'm
A
talking.
long time.
Oh well, we're talking about after this the 6 Day
Yeah.
War. That kind of stuff, right? I mean, we're going all the way back to the mid and late
Right.
'60s,
Right.
right? With Israeli the equivalent of Israeli
Yeah.
imperialism, if you could think about it
Oh
that way,
yeah.
right? Trying to claim territory left and right? The Golan Heights
Yeah.
battles, continuous, right? Going on, incursions into Lebanon,
So all right. So
right?
while we're
All that
talking about the Middle East, this whole thing about the Biden administration
ceasefire,
and the
yeah,
uh, and the Trump administrations or the pre-Trump administration kind of working on the ceasefire. I guess
yeah,
that's
they're
a
sort of working
positive thing.
together.
Yeah, kind of
Yeah,
positive on
it,
Sunday, but if it works, right?
yeah, if it works, yeah. But see, the problem is that all sounds really good, and they make it sound as though there's some level of cooperation, right, with the outgoing and the incoming. Um, and it is a good thing that Trump sent an envoy. Okay, that was smart, and
Yeah.
I don't I don't want to credit him for that because it's too smart.
Yeah, I know.
But
Well, so you probably said, "Well, we got to do something. Let's send this guy, their guy over there."
well,
But
yeah, yeah. Well, I found it interesting that he was insisting that it be done before he takes office. Right? I found that
well,
interesting. Because
he wants.
why not do a Reagan? Do a Ronald Reagan? What Ronald
Oh
Reagan
wait,
did
yeah,
when Iran took American hostages, right?
yeah,
And he had them delay the release of the hostages until right after he got sworn in. I think it was in a
yeah.
matter
Well,
of hours,
yeah.
after he
The
got
problem.
sworn in that Iran released the hostages. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the problem is they weren't into it, so they could control it that way. That they needed the Biden expertise. They needed Anthony Blinken. They needed all the people that Biden had going into that. And really, my understanding is the Trump guys were just kind of like, in the back, just to offer support, but they were not the main players. I mean,
I
from
think
the
I think
report.
well, at the very least, it makes sense. It it makes sense for the Trump envoy to show support, even if they didn't actively, right,
Yeah,
participate in negotiation. To be present in the room and to show support gives an indication to Netanyahu and his extreme right coalition, right, that Trump is not going to give them carte blanche, right? That there's going to
well,
have to be some deal making here, you know. So
yeah.
it's going to be very interesting because the second
Yeah.
and third phases are really what you got to watch out for. It's
Well, we
the
get
first
it's the
phase.
next. Yeah.
It's not that rough. It's the second and third phases.
Yeah, we got 6 weeks, right?
Yep. Yep.
And so it's almost like yeah, it's great for the hostages that will be released in this first phase, but who knows? It can
Yeah.
all fall apart in right after Sunday. Someone does something wrong. Something's misinterpreted. So, but basically, it says that's one thing where the United States is somewhat united. But on all the other things, I mean, you saw today we have Kristi Noem wants to be Homeland Security, and we have Trump talking about more of about mass deportations.
Oh man.
And so what's going to
Oh
happen
man.
on Monday? Trump's going to issue all these day one executive
Yeah.
orders,
He owes a
and
lot of executive.
yeah, they're going to be
Yeah.
focused on immigration, deregulation, bureaucracy reform, and possibly tariffs. That's what some people are saying. And all of those things have an impact on everything, on all our lives, on the markets, and on I don't know. It's going to have an impact on what you feel about the administration. Some people are happy, about Monday, namely the tech bros, but I don't know who else. I mean, if the richer you are, the happier you are. But if you're a regular
Yeah.
person, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, do people?
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see how the regular persons. I can't wait to see how the regular persons react to. You know, let's see if it. I want it. I want proof that Musk has got space inside the White House. Okay, I want proof of that. If that is true, okay, uh, it's like, wow, man. Trump was not at all exaggerating when he said, "Man,
He
I can't
does.
get rid of this
He
guy."
doesn't need space.
I think he was being more
Musk doesn't need
honest.
space. He's a remote worker. He's a remote worker. He's in touch by FaceTime.
He's measuring the
Yeah.
carpet, man.
Right. No, I mean, but
I don't know.
this is the
This is
oligarch. This is the problem of what. But Biden warned. He warned about the
yeah.
oligarch, and he warned about the oligarchy, and he warned about the tech industrial complex, because that is really the future. That I mean,
Yeah.
because if you're talking, Biden got into it a
Well,
little bit with the chip.
he was
Yeah,
correctly equating the two. He was
yeah.
correctly
Well,
equating the
I
two.
mean, Biden
You know,
Biden
uh, uh,
got some push, or he got some benefit from the tech bros when he got the Chips Act. That's good. But now for AI and the whole social media control. I mean, I think you know that's a worry going forward. And then what do you think about TikTok? TikTok today, I
oh yeah. See, the Supreme
yeah, they're
Court
going to block them.
says, yeah,
Yeah,
the band's legit. It's yeah, you know. So yeah, but Mr. Trump said that he wants to see some kind of deal that
someone's
keep it
going to buy.
alive, and then everybody's now scrambling. Even people on the left are saying, "Well, let me see, how could they do that?" You know, because TikTok's so damn popular. You know that people fear that the public is going to turn against us because there's so many people that really are addicted, to TikTok, and
All
there's
right.
people who make
Yeah,
business
I
from it,
know.
small businesses, that have actually
Sure,
enough
but
income, right, to
all right.
substitute for
So
regular work.
regular work, income versus national security. When has the government ever sided with regular
Right.
work? I'm making 30,000 on my TikTok or whatever. I mean,
Yeah, well,
when does the government?
and that's why the Harris. That's that's why Biden and Harris got
Yeah.
blamed for the price of
Well, I'm
eggs,
just
right?
saying.
You know,
People, a bipartisans group of congressmen believe that TikTok represents a national security risk. I mean, if all that information is scooped up by China,
it, it does.
yeah, it's real.
It does. You don't think
I,
it does? I think
I,
it
I,
does.
I,
If when they have an
yeah,
algorithm, right? Just the same way that Google and eBay and everybody's got
mm,
an algorithm, right? They're the Instagram, they got algorithms. Okay, uh, a person that we both know went to PhD land, right, at Santa Barbara back in the 90s, and a couple of his friends were a husband and wife team from China, right, who got a multi-million dollar gig, right, for less than a decade, but they made tons of money, probably hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay, and then got into the real estate market and made more money there, right? That's a
yeah,
very Chinese pattern, right? and they developed, or the husband developed the major algorithm for
mm,
Google,
yeah,
right? The one that patterns what you look at and then says, here's a lot of other stuff, right, that you'd be interested in.
no,
He did that. Okay. That's how they made their money. Okay. So we're talking about Chinese immigrants who made use of the availability of education at a public
yeah,
university, right? Who then turn around and make gazillions of bucks working for the information
yeah,
monopoly of the
yeah.
time, which was Google, right?
All
And
right.
so,
So, I mean, I well,
isn't that amazing? And so we're not we the Chinese, the CCP, is in
yeah,
control of the damn thing, of the business. It's just a front
yeah.
for the
Yeah, we're talking
Chinese
about
Communist
TikTok.
Party.
You're talking
Yeah,
about
right.
TikTok.
Bite
Yeah.
dance,
Well,
bite dance.
I can't. So, I mean, but the thing is, people don't seem to care, and they should. And I think that
They don't care because it's immediate for them. The people that are in favor of keeping TikTok, it ranges from, like I said, they make money off it and they make a living from it, all the way to it's entertainment. I love it. I mean,
I know,
and then
but
for kids, for a lot of younger people, including college people, they say it's my main source of news.
right,
What?
right. Like
What?
I understand. I understand. But at the same time, it's like you're sleeping with the enemy, and it should be a concern, and that's why it's shut down. But now no one can say boo to this. I mean, even even Biden, who signed the bill that went to the court, and the court said, we're not going to stop it. We're going to continue the ban. Biden says he's not going to enforce it because he doesn't want the Democrats to lose out on TikTok followers. Trump's saying he's going to try to change things, but it's only going to change if an American company buys it. So that's the only way out. I don't mind seeing TikTok die, frankly, but look at what one of the answers is for TikTok users: to go to another ByteDance company, to go to another ByteDance app.
Yeah, there's only two other companies that do anything
Right.
like it, right?
And so they're not
What was it? One's called Lemonade.
yeah,
or
Lemon
something?
8. Lemon
Yeah.
8. So they're not
Yeah,
heeding the warning about their information being stolen by China. They're saying, "Yeah, come on, China. I'll trade this gal for this
Well,
gal."
they didn't listen to Russia. They didn't listen to Hillary when she said Russia's interfering with the
Yeah.
campaigns. They didn't listen to that either. Everybody scoffed at it and said, "Oh man, she just really is." And then what
All right.
happens? The part of the Mueller report that the Trumpers and Steve Bannon, and Jeff Sessions didn't want to acknowledge, right? Said
Yes.
what? They did, in fact. They did, in fact, interfere with the campaign. Okay. Whoa, that's there. That's
right.
real.
So, I mean, given the facts that, Christopher Wray, who's on his way out, or he is out now, but he said China was the number one enemy.
Yep.
And here's TikTok.
Yep.
This makes sense. We got to ban TikTok. Don't use TikTok. But people love to use TikTok. It's not right. How do you convince people that this is harmful to America? Harmful to America.
How do you convince people that Trump is harmful to America? It's the same thing. They believe what they want to believe. If they so easily, yes, there's misogyny and racism involved in people's failure to come out and vote for Harris and Walz. Definitely a factor, okay? But the most important factor is their willingness to accept Trump as a legitimate leader. That's really the most important thing. That's the scariest part of all of this, is that if they can accept that guy as and accept that as that is beyond a low standard. Okay, that's the deepest, right? For a person like that to be president of the United States, and they find that acceptable. They find that preferable. Okay.
Well, then there's no hope for America then.
No, there isn't. Not for at least another year. It's going to turn around, and the question is how many people are going to turn around.
I just think I think there's no hope for America.
Well, see,
we can't distinguish. Because we can't distinguish, or we can't say, "Oh, I'll give up this short-term gain with TikTok, getting a few $1,000. Maybe people are making more than that." But the fact is, why do you want to make that money when it's a national security risk? And they're saying, no, it's not that bad. Just like they're saying, oh, I'm going to smoke cigarettes even though it causes cancer because it's not that bad. Then they die of cancer. Or I'm going to, you can talk about every other harm.
Okay.
What convinces you?
That's true. How about the oil?
Yeah.
How about oil?
Oil, alcohol, everything.
How about oil? 1970s, Exxon, alcohol. The cigarette companies just came right out and lied, and they lied for years, and they lied right on the congressional hearings, right? And then what was the compromise? We're going to put a label on there that says, it'll kill you. Okay, that's it. And that was it. And so people kept dying, people kept smoking,
and now they want to label
people kept dying.
Surgeon General wants a label on alcohol because
what they could have done. Yeah, well, and that's legit.
Yeah.
That's legit.
Yeah. So I
don't
just
see anything wrong with that. It's especially stuff with high proof alcohol.
Yeah, 150 proof.
More studies are coming out saying it doesn't just eat your liver.
Yeah.
Right. There's more side effects that are problematic. Right. Okay. I you know we
Yeah.
beat the hell out of this horse, you know, in
Well,
terms of the tech
it's
bros
just
and
the
all the
idea.
rest of that stuff.
It's just the idea that, we know it's bad. We know that TikTok is bad, but we won't listen. We won't heed the warnings
I'm
and the
not.
fear.
No, I don't think they. I don't think they do. I don't think they do. But no, it's bad.
Well, what they'll say, the defense I hear from people who love TikTok, they'll say, well, they use TikTok. Biden uses TikTok.
If they
Yeah,
blame them,
right. Or they'll say,
so it's an immediate thing, right?
yeah,
The I can't afford food. The prices are too high. It's their fault. All right.
yeah.
Now,
Oh, Dan. Dan, you froze.
and commodities that are regularly by the typical American consumer. That's what it's going to come down. Now, when was the last time you saw prices get reduced? Okay, I can't remember the last time you saw prices
I
get
saw,
reduced. I see
I
gasoline
saw,
go up and down.
I on my fake cheese index, the fake cheese I bought the other day was just $3.87 for like 12 individual slices, which is pretty good compared to
Oh
three eighty
man,
seven versus $7.50 at another store for the same kind of fake cheese. And so I'm just saying I've seen a drop in prices, but that's just like one product. But I just think that when people talk about TikTok and
right.
they can't they don't take the government seriously when they say it's a security risk because of China. That's what scares me.
They
That's what,
don't
and
they don't. It's not only they take the government seriously. They don't take the situation seriously, and they don't believe that it's serious because it hasn't affected them. That's one of the major rules, right? Of
all right,
of the psychological side of politics and political behavior is if
yeah.
it doesn't affect them directly, right? They don't they don't believe it. Now,
So
why
they
was
need
Trump effective? Trump's effective because he lies like hell, but he lies on the basis of what people's inclinations, the direction of their inclinations. He understands that people are willing, for example,
willing to. Oh, he's frozen again.
to
Willing to what?
look at people who are culturally different and say,
Well, wait. Now you got truncated there because
oh,
of
okay,
you're
yeah,
saying.
what I was saying is people are anti immigrant, right?
Yeah,
Because they see people as being culturally unfit. And then they associate them with the old-fashioned criticisms of immigrants. You know,
stereotype.
if they want to come here, they got to learn English, they got to be like us, they got to do all that stuff. But they're so different.
Yeah. So what you're saying, Dan, and you're frozen again, but what you're saying is that Trump lies to in the direction of the existing ignorance of people, right? Trump's
Yeah,
lies are aimed at the
yes.
existing ignorance of people.
It's not ignorance. It's sometimes it's ignorance. A lot of times it is learned, right? Perception. It is learned, and learned perception turns into belief. And so a
Right.
lot of what Trump understood is what the great unwashed masses believe. Okay.
So it's sort of like Trump seducing a beautiful woman or an average woman, telling her she's beautiful and then manipulating her because he has played to their ego.
Boy, I don't know where this is coming from. I'm not gonna go there though, man.
Okay,
You
all
know,
right. Well,
that's on the
he
edge
is
of
a
misogyny. I'm not gonna play that.
well, all right. But I'm just saying that it's racist. What Trump is doing is racist, not misogynist.
Yeah. Yes.
And
Yes.
and he's exploiting it. He's exploiting the racist tendency of the
Yes,
masses.
yes.
Yeah.
It's built into the society. I mean, Ibram X. Kendi, right, and his
Oh
great
yeah,
book,
yeah.
Stamped from the Beginning. There it is.
Oh,
It's
well,
there.
wait. So
Uh,
the fact that that TikTok is Chinese, is there any anti-Asian? There's no anti-Asian thing. They're saying, look,
sure,
oh,
sure, it's there. And if the left wanted to be nasty, they could
so
use
where's
that.
the anti-Asian
Okay,
thing?
but it's not there. They're not
Oh,
using it. They're using the Chinese structurally rather than racially or culturally. They're using them structurally, and they're pointing at the Communist Party. Okay, so then they get to attack China from an ideological and an economic basis. But what cracks me up is they're making money too, right? And they're getting data. So the Chinese are getting an lift from this, and they're having problems, right? So whatever they're
yeah.
getting from running TikTok and related activities, they're also getting information. They're getting data on all of us. You don't know how grabby that algorithm is. Okay, and
Oh
it could
yeah.
it could
I
be very invasive.
I avoid it. I avoid it.
I don't
I'm
do
on
TikTok
it.
at all. I
I,
don't
I'm
do TikTok
I
at
was on
all.
I was on it. I did a couple. I sort of, and then the warnings came out, and
All
then,
right.
but I've been wrong about social media before. Now, one guy who's not wrong on social media, and that is Mark Zuckerberg. He is so pro Trump now, and 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 he loves it. He loves being pro Trump. I mean, are we all going to be making Trump turns in the next couple weeks? Because I mean, the models are there, Musk, Zuckerberg, all the politicians. Oh, do we give Trump a break? Do we give Trump? Is that the play?
I don't know. I'm not. I don't. I'm not. Okay. If we look at it from complete self-interest, I got no
Uh-huh.
self-interest. 'Cause I'm
Yeah,
not making any money off this dude, man. And I want to leave his platforms. I want to leave Facebook,
yeah,
Meta. I want to leave
yeah.
all of that stuff because I don't want to contribute to his wealth. Okay.
Right,
And so my
right.
little itty bitty, pennies on the dollar, contribution to his wealth, I want to stop that. It's like I don't want to buy a Tesla. I'm not going to get
Yeah,
anything that has anything to do with Musk products or
yeah,
activities. I kind of smirk, that his big ass rocket keeps failing, right? I know,
yeah,
seven times now, right?
yeah. And
So, well, good for him, right? He keeps
Bezos's rocket
trying.
worked the other day. Bezos,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, his
yeah.
rocket worked the other day, and
Well,
Musk failed today.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So yeah,
Well, was it
these are the
today or
tech.
yesterday? But anyway,
Yeah. So all
anyway,
right.
okay. So
So
yeah, the tech bros, they're having their own little competition, right? It's kind of like a flying penis
yeah,
competition.
that's what it is. It's yeah. So all right. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen on Monday? It's Martin Luther King Day, which is
Oh man, that's just the most
yeah.
horrible coincidence. That the 20th has to be Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and I made comment about this in my
Yeah.
class. Is that, geez, it's awful. This guy gets sworn in, and he's not the epitome of racism. He's not like a George Wallace in his heyday, right? I'm making a reference now that most of the people out there, but George
Yeah,
Wallace
George
ran
Wallace,
for the from South. He ran for the nomination of the Democratic
Alabama,
Party. Yeah,
Alabama governor. You mean the Alabama governor, not George
yeah,
Wallace, the comedian,
yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld's friend. Yeah.
Oh no, no, different
Yeah,
guy. Yeah.
different guy. All right, so yeah, I mean, I say to people in my column, don't let the coincidence uh, be self-canceling on Martin
No,
Luther
you
King
gotta,
Day.
and we should talk about that. We should talk about,
Yeah,
yeah, we should talk about the actual I don't know. It's worse than juxtaposition, right? I mean, it's clearly a conflict of imagery. At least that.
Yeah. Well, then,
And then when you start looking at the, the personal philosophies of the
yeah.
individuals, right? Then you've really got major contradictions,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, we're not talking about the Trump era is going to be civil rights 2.0 or 3.0. Um, not by a long shot, you know. And I think the
No, I think it's going to be civil rights point zero
yeah,
five. I think they're going to be cutting
yeah,
back
negative.
there. They already got some of that done, right? I mean, even before
Yeah,
Trump, you had Shelby
right.
County,
Voting
right?
Rights Act.
And the gutting of Section
Right,
5 of the Civil
right,
Rights Act. Okay, so states didn't have to
right,
pre-screen, right, and tell federal authority that we're doing things to keep voting on the up and up and make sure that it's
right.
accessible to everybody, regardless of race, ethnicity, national
Yeah,
origin, and
they've
all that.
already gutted the Voting Rights Act. The Civil Rights Act is
Yeah, yep.
is is heading backwards. The pendulum swing back.
It's going to get yeah, it's going to get challenged. It's going to get
Yeah,
challenged some
and
more. They have
yeah,
upheld they have upheld some of the nastiest gerrymandering, and the only gerrymandering that they've struck down was previously struck down by the state courts of the states that had the gerrymandering law. So when the state court struck it down on constitutional
yeah,
grounds, right, then it would look really bad
yeah,
for the U.S. Supreme Court to reverse that and uphold it,
yeah.
right? When the states already internally said this is really, really obviously racist
Yeah, well,
gerrymandering,
I
right?
mean, in gerrymandering, that's that determines the makeup of Congress. That determines it all these numbers, and it impacts.
Distribution of
Yeah,
resources,
it impacts
federal
the law.
resources,
So
right?
yeah, I mean, so what we have is
Mhm.
we are definitely going backwards. Civil rights, voting rights, Title Nine. They just struck down the LGBTQ protections
Oh yeah,
the
oh
other
yeah,
week. That's bad. I mean, we're not even talking
yep,
about
yep,
just trans
yep.
people or trans persons. We're talking about LGBTQ protections. None of them. It's like the whole thing
Right.
struck down by the court.
Well, and the neat thing is they say this as a rationale. They say we're doing this to protect the rights and interests of
Yeah,
girls and women.
right.
That's part of the rationale.
Yeah, well,
So they're essentially they're, they're playing gender, right, against
oh
sexuality,
yeah, yeah,
binary gender.
and this is taking hold. Um, it was a Kentucky judge. I'm sure. What they get to challenge it again, right? And they get to take it up to the Supreme Court, don't they? And
Yep,
if something changes there.
sure, but the Supreme Court,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
going to go
So
six
I mean,
three.
this is the America for the next until people will say, "Hey, enough's enough" in the midterms, or they go all the way. I mean, Trump is lame duck for 4 years. Maybe we go 4 years, but with a Trump administration, but maybe the House, maybe the Congress goes Democrat, so there's more of a balance. I don't know. It's hard to say because as I talk, I think that the Democrats are in a kind of disarray. They don't really know how to speak out against this. Biden
Well,
and
well,
Harris.
yes, they are, and that's okay. That's all right that they're in disarray. Disarray. They should be in disarray because, they listened to the campaign advisors that make millions of bucks doing this stuff, and they were off the
Yeah,
wall. These people were wrong from the start, and the Democratic Party has been going in the wrong direction for at least 30 to 40 years.
yeah,
They went in the wrong direction and went with urban suburban. They left rural out there and only paid attention to them when the farmers were struggling, and then they don't get credit for the help that they gave to farmers when they were struggling because they still look like urban professional orientation,
right.
right?
And
And then
Yeah.
and the Hollywood elite,
Right.
right? And you know,
And the urban professionals
that's
are, that's the Ivy League elite, the Democratic elite. And now suddenly, oh my God, how you see how it just kind of reversed on the Democrats. Like they weren't they weren't the People's Party anymore. Uh-oh.
no, they haven't been the People's
Yeah.
Party for years. They surrendered
Yeah.
unions to Reagan
Well, Reagan,
after Patco.
yeah,
After that,
Reagan defeated the unions
yeah.
in Patco. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Well, that was easy to do because Patco's actions were illegal.
yeah,
So it was easy. It was easy to burn them, but the reason they were willing to take the risk was because their issues were so strong. You know, they were overworked. They were stressed out. They get treated as though it's a regular 8-hour job, right? You know,
yeah.
and it's extremely high stress, and increasingly so because of the increase of traffic and all that.
Patco, of
So
course,
they had a legitimate,
yeah, air traffic controllers, air
yes,
traffic controllers union.
yeah.
Well, I mean, uh, it's
So the point is that Reagan was very successful. That was a popular move
yeah,
because people didn't want to get hung up, you know, not being able to fly, and so even though the PACO was replaced by a less experienced military air traffic controllers, it worked. You know,
yeah,
no planes went down. There were no collisions in minute. Nothing of that stuff happened, and so it worked. And you know, Reagan got credit for putting down the
yeah,
unions. So the other thing was that union activity and strikes was inflationary. Okay, during a period when inflation went ridiculous between 76 and
oh yeah,
81, and then Reagan took credit for all of the measures that Carter and Jerry Brown,
yeah,
remember, put in place,
yeah.
right,
That
to
was a
stem inflation.
tough year inflation wise because we had double digits, and some of the things that happened during that period of stagflation were good in terms of
Right.
the the price of real estate or the equity in your home. But
Yeah, but what happened to people with
oh
that?
yeah, oh yeah,
Remember, people
yeah.
people see for the first time in my lifetime, that was when, remember, creative
Oh
financing
yeah, yeah,
and people who took advantage of creative financing, and they you know, overburdened their properties with extended loans and
yeah.
second
Second and
loans, right?
third.
Second
They had a
mortgages,
wrap loan where
sometimes third.
yeah,
Yes, wrap
wrap
around.
loan. You take a new loan and you take your existing loan and put it
Yeah, yeah,
in this existing loan, and then you wrap it, and now you've got three
yeah.
mortgages.
You wrap it all together, and then they wrap it around your neck.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It was.
The reality was, oh
It's
yeah,
how people.
oh yeah, and then people were attracted to it. People were attracted to it because they said, you know, my students go, well, what was attractive about that? You know, you extend your mortgage and then you got to pay more money. And I said, well, that's the whole trick. They were told interest only, so you got interest only loans
Oh yeah.
for 3 to 5 years, right? And so everything was affordable. It looked affordable. I could do that. I can pay those loans because it's interest
Yeah.
only, and we can turn it over. The property will double in value in 3 to 5 years, maybe more, right?
Right. Right.
And then we just sell off.
You can afford the
Yeah,
balloon payment because the property is going to increase in
that's
value.
right. That's right. When that comes in, yeah, everything will be fine. And guess what?
It didn't.
Nope, didn't happen that
Yeah.
way. And so you saw all kinds of people having to go bankrupt. You know, BK was a busy court, man.
Yeah.
Bankruptcy court
Well,
was real busy.
well,
Come 79, 80, 81.
we may have stagflation again, because if
Yep.
Trump wants to put those
Tariffs.
tariffs and the tariffs are
Yep.
inflationary, we may be in for a rough go.
Well,
I saw one.
he's going to have a tariff czar. He's appointing somebody as a tariff czar, right?
Well, czars are easier. You
They're
don't have
going to be responsible for collecting the
yeah,
tariffs, right?
you don't
Putting them in a fund.
yeah, you don't have a czar isn't a real position, so you don't need confirmation by the Senate. But you know this is this is what we have forward to look for. I said earlier, the LA fires are the perfect metaphor for going into this period because we will have the Trump fire and we'll have a new fire every day. He'll set an ember, he'll be his own Santa Ana winds, and he'll be his own ember, and he'll start his own fire. And how will we deal with it? How will we put it out? I mean, it's like Trump is make work. He is make work. It's exhaustion.
Oh
It's
man.
exhausting,
Oh
and
man.
people give up. Biden referred to it the other day. He said, when you have an oligarchy and they're doing stuff, it's exhausting. People give up. They don't think it's fair. They don't think they got a fair shot, and you won't have a fair shot because who's going to be able to compete and who's going to be able to do anything in the Trump economy? If you're a friend of Trump, you'll be favored. If you're not, heaven help you. That's just the way it is.
Well, but see, the people don't even understand what resources are available to them. They don't
Oh
understand,
yeah, yeah,
how the court system might work in that regard. They don't understand how to attack the problem,
mm,
right? So the core problem is the Supreme Court's decision in Citizens
yeah,
United. That's how all that money gets thrown into
oh yeah,
campaigns.
and that's
So if they really want to address the problem, they got to have movement start with the lower
yeah,
house, and this should be
yeah,
bipartisan, okay? Because everybody benefits from limiting the flow of huge amounts of money into political campaigns. Everybody benefits from
yeah,
that,
yeah.
if you make it real. Republicans, I don't know. They think that okay, big money is always on our side, so let it rip.
See, there,
That those are all good decisions.
people have a trust in. Some people don't have a trust in government. That's why they're conservative. They're anti-government, but they have a trust in Trump, and Trump is he's about as big as government gets because he's the government. He's the guy. And so it's not big government like you're dealing with bureaucracy. It's big government, Trump's ego, and he's in control. And that's what you have to worry about. And he is going to do whatever he feels like that enriches himself more than the people who look up to him. And the people who look up to him will be burned.
Yeah, but see, once again, they accept that. Okay, they don't understand the
Yeah.
general. It doesn't seem as though the general public understands that that's conflict of interest. That you
Yeah.
should not be profiting. I mean, from
Oh,
being in office.
that's that was the whole thing about his first term, and having a hotel, being the president, and not really, putting your business, your business things in a blind trust. Too much,
Yeah,
too
he
many
said, oh
opportunities for
yeah,
conflict.
he never did place it into a blind trust from what I recall.
Yeah, he did
People
not.
he
He
said
did
he
not.
was, and then he also said, you don't have to worry about that anyway because I have no participation in running those businesses. It's all my sons.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's all
Yeah.
Eric
We'll
and
see.
Don
We'll
Jr. That's
see.
it. That's who. Yeah,
And
yeah.
we
And then
trust
in
him.
between, what is he doing besides selling Bibles and sneakers, right? Then
Yeah.
he has. Remember
I'm
the
just saying.
cards? Oh my God!
Yeah. Oh, the cards. Yeah. I mean, but we have. I mean, the American. Well, here's the thing. We're still a 50-50
Got the
country.
watches.
Yeah, we're still a 50-50 country.
Yeah.
So, half the country loves him, half the country wants to see him in jail, believes he belongs in jail. How do we get through this 50-50 fire metaphor term? They could last as short as 2 years, could last as long as four. How do we get through this, Dan?
You got to keep criticizing as things happen. You have to stay on top of it. You have to criticize them as things happen. You have to criticize whatever the Republican Party does that is either unethical or outright illegal, and they've done both in bunches. You have to You have to contradict what they think is plausible in terms of economic practice.
Mhm.
And I think the biggie is going to be if he goes for the tariffs. That's going to be an easy shot, right?
Yeah.
Because there's going to be an immediate effect, just like COVID had an immediate effect, right, or
Yeah.
nearly so, on the supply chain. So will tariffs. They'll have a nearly immediate effect, and people will see it in terms of the increase in prices.
And then
Okay.
they'll go after Trump. We hope. I mean,
Well, I think they'll go after some Republicans first. They may go after the czar, right, the tariff czar, and then eventually Trump is going to have to either defend them or back off.
or
And
cut them loose.
it's like you said, yeah,
Cut
well,
them
that's what I'm
loose.
saying. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not like the MAGA
yeah,
folks
yeah.
don't have.
We did that.
Yeah, it's not like the MAGA folks
Yeah,
don't have their
the
problems with H-1B visas
yeah,
and immigration.
yeah, yeah.
I they're
A
at
lot of
odds.
division, a lot of division among the Republicans. Yeah,
So
no, that's correct.
as they splinter and fragment, I don't know. I'd like to see the Democrats consolidate and grow, but I don't see it. I don't see a move where the
No,
progressives and the moderates get together. I
no.
don't see where. I mean,
No, you
Don,
know what? They have to be on the ground. They have to be on the ground, right? They have to have offices open even when it ain't campaign time, right?
right?
And they have to be on the ground talking to people. And like I said, whenever there's a misstep or whenever there's a questionable activity by the Republicans, either on a local level or on the national level, they have to be vocal about calling it out, and then they have to go
Yeah,
listen. Instead of telling them, right? You can't do things like redefine how people see themselves, right? It's like going from Hispanic to Latino, AO, Latino to Latinx,
yeah,
right? They're not buying
yeah,
Latinx, okay? The, Even if you educate them about the inclusive characteristics of the term, right? That it's used to make sure that it encompasses people who are sexually different, people who have different attitudes and perspectives about intermarriage and mixed race, people of mixed
mm,
ethnicity, and that it's all inclusive and it's all about how people identify,
yeah,
right? Yeah, you can try to educate them about that, but when you just spring it on people and you pull terminology out of the academic environment,
mhm,
right? And then you start using it as generalized terminology, and when the journalism, right, accepts that and they start using it, and people in the general population are saying, "Where'd this come
yeah.
from? What's this about?" I get it all the
Well,
time. Back in the
yeah,
70s.
yeah.
Go
Well,
ahead.
I
Go
just
ahead.
want to see people not walk away, not give up or not give in. I mean, and there's gon-
Oh, I
there's
see what you
gonna
mean. Yeah,
be a real tendency for people to say, "Not my
yeah.
problem. I'm out of
That's up to the
here.
party.
I gave it my shot in the fall. We lost. It's depressing, and or they'll say, I want to work with Trump. I want to see what Trump has. I want to see
Yeah,
if we can work together.
well, yeah,
I think that's a losing cause, but
right.
I'm going to be open. But I think you have to criticize the moves he's going to make, and we know the moves he's going to make. He's going
Yeah,
to
it's
in the
pretty
mass
predictable.
deportation. He's going to do yeah, and
Well,
it's
did you
not going
see
to
what
be
happened
fun. It's
yesterday
not
with people?
with who?
Well, yesterday here in California, people didn't show up for the citrus harvest.
Oh, I
Remember,
didn't see
people
that.
didn't show up. Yeah, no, agricultural workers didn't show up for the beginning of the citrus
Huh?
harvest,
And
and
so
it's because
they're in trouble.
they fear a mass deportation.
So ranchers are in trouble. Farmers are in trouble.
Well, evidently so. Okay,
So, well,
I'm looking it up right now. So go
yeah.
ahead and.
So I just think that, we have a situation where if you're getting tired, and this is the thing about Trump, he's exhausting as hell. And that's part of his game plan. People give up and say, they throw up their arms and say, that's it, I'm out. This is not the time. Not the time to be out. This is the time to say, okay, what's next? What's the future? So Dan, I think
not getting enough information here on citrus workers.
Yeah, and I didn't think you would. I didn't hear about the citrus workers yesterday. Where'd you hear about that? God, it's got a breaking.
Actually,
I just got some bad news if you're a Giants fan. The Japanese phenom, Roki Sasaki, has signed with the Dodgers. See, the Dodgers are getting everybody. I mean, someone should tell Roki Sasaki about the LA Flyers. They got Ohtani. They got it's not, and they still don't win with regularity. They won last year, but still now they got the pitch. They got Snell, they got Sasaki, they got Ohtani, that's three pitchers right there. And I think they've got there's Mookie Betts. He doesn't pitch, but the bat there, Mookie Betts. I just think they make you want to dislike the Dodgers, which is my problem with LA. But I love LA. I dislike the Dodgers, but I love LA. And so Dan, I'm going to be watching.
We gotta go.
Final thought on MLK Day. Give me a strong thought about MLK Day that people can take with them as they watch the convicted felon put his hand on the Bible. Let go of me. Let go of me.
Well,
okay.
He actually has to put burn insulation on his palm so that it doesn't fuse to the Bible from overheating.
Yeah.
Now, okay. First of all, MLK is best known, of course, for the racial justice of the social justice movement, but he was also very much about class issues, about poverty. Okay, and in the last few years of his life, he was increasingly critical of U.S. imperialism, and he saw the Vietnam War as an aspect of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what got him in trouble. Beyond his early days of being imprisoned at the state level, right? Once he got into the level of prominence, he was kind of protected by his prominence, right? And then when he went anti-Vietnam War, that opened him up to vulnerability of violence.
So don't just think I have a dream. That speech. Check out the Riverside Church speech, or he's comes out.
That's right. Yeah, there you go.
That was the speech. That's where he remembers his Asian American brothers and sisters. That's where he calls the war a racist war, and questions why America is going over there, why African Americans are going over there to kill, the Asians there. So that's where a sensitivity.
Oh, I got a hit here.
Yeah,
I got a hit from Fresh Plaza today. Central Valley citrus harvest declines as migrant workers fear deportation.
Oh yeah, it's going to happen all throughout. They're not. People are not going to. They're not just going to say, okay, things are going to be better. They're going to be proactive, and they're going to see, what's Trump going to do? They know what Trump's going to do because he said it. All right, back to Martin Luther King. Here's my Martin Luther King thought. My Martin Luther King thought is pretty much the same Martin Luther King thought that one has when one wants to stay hopeful, and that is his use of the phrase that the arc of justice, or the arc of change, tends toward justice, or bends toward
Yep.
justice. And that's what we have to keep in
Takes a
mind.
long time.
Otherwise, yeah. And it's time,
Yeah.
right?
No, that's the
It's gonna take
core of
time.
hope. Core of,
Yeah. And that's how we, I mean, because you can't, my guru guy says have no preference of Trump, Biden. In some sense, they're all capitalists, and to the same degree. Well, not necessarily to the same degree. I mean, Biden doesn't have Musk and Zuckerberg and all those guys on his side now, and but the thing is, have the trust that people will do things in the best interest of the people. That's the thing. With Biden, he's doing things in the best interest of the people. With Trump, you just don't know. It's in his best interest. It's in his best interest. That's why he's
yeah,
that's why he's a bad president.
and it's virtually solo. It's virtually solo. It's virtually isolated to himself. I mean, it's very, very insular. But the Republican Party they want to ride that
they're
vehicle.
Well, they're happy with the crumbs. They're happy with the crumbs that Trump leaves, and that's unfortunate, because by the time it trickles down to the American public, there's no crumbs. It's just like maybe there's nothing left for the American public.
Well, but remember, the right believes in in trickle down theory. Remember that
of course.
During the Reagan administration,
the Arthur Laffer and all those guys. No, it doesn't. There's no trickle down. There's no trickle down. So, Dan,
there is, but
not to the people.
Whatever's trickling is not it's not good. It's toxic. What's trickling is toxic.
Toxic,
the arc of moral universe is long. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice.
Justice. Yeah, the arc of the moral universe is long. Not necessarily his original phrase, but he's popularized it. I think someone else said it, and he's used it, but that's the one that he uses to give hope, and we need the hope. The arc of justice is long. All right, so Dan,
the practical side is they will screw up, and we have to seize on the opportunity to criticize.
Yeah. Yes. Dan, happy
on the ground, dude.
Happy MLK weekend.
MLK Day.
MLK Day.
Thank you. Thank you.
You've I feel so introspective with that quote. I'm not going to do laughter yoga today. I'm not going to do laughter.
Oh, okay, yoga. Good.
I'm not going to do it.
No, I think a good moment. It's a good moment. We could do smile yoga.
Smile yoga. Hey, you can stay there. I'm going to go to New York next week, and I want to tell you about something. I want to tell you about Theater for the New City. Theater for the New City. It's in New York. It's on First Avenue, and you go to this website at let's see, ci.ovationtix.com/35441/production-1223261. So if you go to this link that you see up on the screen, Theater for the New City in New York City, and check out Theater for the Shine Challenge 2025. The Shine Challenge 2025. What is that, Emil? Well, playwright Ishmael Reed says he wrote the Shine Challenge 2025 because he found this these verses that were written by Langston Hughes, and it's about the
Okay.
Titanic, and
Oh,
and uh, and in the oral tradition, these verses are passed around about the sinking of the Titanic. And Reed says, "In my great uncle's house, the only painting on the wall was that of the Titanic. The sinking of the Titanic challenged the boasts of white supremacy. From the collective imagination of the black streets came the toast of Shine, who warns the first class passengers that the ship, thought to be invincible, was taking water. One might consider Shine to be the grassroots nominee for a member of the black prophetic tradition." So these 40 lines are called Shine Toasts. Shine was the name of the black man who was on board. This, I don't know, it's a mythical black man, but uh, Reed lengthened the lines in this oral tradition that's all throughout the East Coast in the 1915s, 1920s, and he made a play about race, class, immigration, engineering, Edwardian morality, because Shine, the black man who's accused of sinking the Titanic, is put on trial. So this is an interesting fantasy, an interesting trial. There's the Titanic. It's called the Shine Challenge of 2025, a new play by Ishmael Reed. You got to go check it out if you happen to be in New York. And this is an
and
artsy
we get to
production.
see you playing the role of J. Bruce Ismay,
Yes,
owner of the Titanic. Whoa.
I I
Whoa, you
play
get to
Jay.
own the boat, man.
I am the owner, and I have to say that as the owner of the Titanic, I play maybe one of the world's uh, lesser known racists, but but who should be more known because he was a racist, and I get to play once again a white racist in a black theater play. But that's my lot in drama, my lot in the acting world. But it's a new play, Ishmael Reed, directed by
Do
Rome
you have
Neal.
to wear whiteface?
I don't that that is a good. I don't have to wear whiteface because aren't I white enough relatively? I guess not. I guess not.
No, not really.
I
You
I
you still look pretty toxic. You
I
look
I'm gonna
toxically brown enough.
I'm gonna have to suggest they just throw more light on me. I'm gonna have to suggest that I play it in whiteface. That might be it. I play it in whiteface. I know. We'll see.
Don't tell
We'll
them I
see.
gave you that idea. Don't tell them I suggested it.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So I played Jay
Take that one
Bruce's.
on your own, man.
Yeah, I played Jay Bruce's man. And look, you see my name up there. I'm on the second
Yep.
line there. So it's fun. Good
Oh
cast.
man.
Brian Anthony Simmons is a good friend of mine who's been on NCI, all those crime dramas that are filmed in New York. Because this, actors when they get some gigs, steady gigs on those TV shows in New York, and then they have some downtime. They do theater like this. So it's at Theater for the New City. So check it out, the Shine Challenge. Go to the website, and I'll say it again. It's ci.ovation/35441/production/1223261. There you go, and then and go to that site. Get it to if you happen to be in New York. If you happen to be in New York. I'm going to be in New York. Oh, we didn't mention this. It's going to be cold as heck in on the East Coast next couple of weeks. But on Monday in particular, for the inaugural, they're going to bring it inside. What do you think? Indoors? I think it's not legit if it's indoors.
Yeah, well,
I'm,
yeah, but see, the reason they want to do that is because nobody's going to show up for the
yeah,
outdoors.
maybe. But it's I just think it's also a smaller venue.
You won't be able to say
Yeah,
mine's bigger.
it's also going to be a smaller venue.
It's going to say mine's bigger.
Yeah, he's
yeah, that way they can look back. I mean, that was the pattern that he followed with his late
Yeah,
campaign
yeah,
rallies, right? They used smaller venues, and they did them outdoors, and the outdoor venues were pretty small. They were
yeah.
pretty
Well,
compact.
Reagan did it indoors when it was cold. That's what they did. But I would like to see Trump show what kind of a frozen popsicle he is. I like to see him prove that he is a cold, frigid dude because that's the kind of administration it's going to be. It's going to be a cold administration, and I think it's fitting that it would be outside, but he's going to move it indoors. So anyway, uh, I'll be there on the doing the Shine Challenge on January 30th through 16th. I think did I get the dates right? I think I did. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
January
looking at it
30th,
right now.
8 p.m., 31st, 8 p.m. So 8 p.m. shows Saturday, 8 p.m., Sunday, 3 p.m. on February 2nd. And,
Yeah, you got a matinee schedule on Sunday, and no
yeah.
8 p.m.
And
show.
then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, again, 8 p.m. And then a
Yeah,
Sunday,
8 p.m.
matinee. And then our last show is Sunday the 16th. So should be fun. 3 p.m. on Sunday the 16th, the final show. And then I'll be coming back to California, and we'll be a couple weeks into the Trump administration. What do you think? What is your prediction? A couple weeks into the Trump administration.
Well, it depends on how many EOs he tries to thread. Okay, and also what's still going to be going on is
Oh
his
yeah,
picks for nominees for appointments, and so it's going to be
yeah.
interesting.
But
I think
you think
Bondi
what?
I think Bondi's going to
Yeah,
make it. I think
yeah.
Bondi's going to make it.
And I think Rubio's going
Attorney
to make it. They
General.
already got his.
Yeah, oh, that's an easy shot. He's getting bipartisan
Yeah,
support
and
already.
I think if Hegseth goes through, I don't think Hegseth should, but if Hegseth goes through, then Cash Patel or um, what's her name, Tulsi Gabbard, you know,
They will
one
get
of those
burned.
two, if not both, will get burned if Hegseth goes through
Yeah.
because all are unqualified. But
Oh man,
but
so poorly. Yeah. What about Christy
uh,
Nolan?
she's the governor. She's got experience, even though she's just a sycophant of Trump. So I think she's probably going to sneak through, unless the dog lovers stand
Yeah.
up and
Well,
say, "You shot your
yeah,
dog."
she better.
Yeah. So
If you have a dog that likes to run up and lick people,
I
you better have them wear a
yeah. Oh
Kevlar
yeah.
vest.
Definitely. Definitely. So all right. So theater for the new city, New York City Shine Challenge, 2025, January 30th. If you're in New York City, check it out. And I'll be in the play. I have a very small part, and it's not just because I'm as small as this Zoom box right now. It's just that I have a small but impactful role. So check out the Shine Challenge. All right, so Dan, oh there you are. What happened?
Interesting concept. Thank you so
I got
much.
oh there. Yeah. All right, so Dan, take care. Have a good MLK Day. My
Thank you.
family always celebrated MLK Day. We would make a chocolate cake. We had a cake. We had MLK cake, and my daughter said,
Yeah, I have chocolate. I have chocolate all the time, so I probably would just do barbecue. I
"Barbara,
would
oh,
love that.
this was
Just
not a
do
joke. We
barbecue.
had a chocolate cake, and we had a happy MLK Day, and it was his birthday. We had a birthday cake. We blew out candles for MLK. That's what we
Uh,
did, and I kind of miss.
for me, it's barbecue and beer.
Yes.
And by the way, we've had a couple of vegan
Yeah.
meals. We're moving in
Good.
that direction. I was extremely
Bye.
impressed with the quality of the food. The quality of the food was
What did
very
you go
good.
to that place I suggested?
No, I just
Oh,
ordered
I mean,
in at one of our
oh,
local places.
check out that
You mean you talk about
international.
yeah, the fake pork at
Yeah, the
International Cafe?
fake
No,
lechon.
we just ordered in. Yeah, the lechon. You know what? I was trying to look them up on
Mhm.
online, and I couldn't find it.
I hope
I
they're still
better
there.
try
No,
again.
they, you
Anyway,
got to
I
go.
gotta go.
You
Thank
got to
you
go
very much.
there to get the lechon. Okay, there he goes. Daniel Phil Gonzalez, my friend,
Oh,
professor of Asian American Studies, College of Ethnic Studies, professor emeritus, San Francisco State University, College of Ethnic Studies. Oh my God! So there goes Dan. You know, as usual, you know, I mean, what can you do? The mature way is not to be really to have no preference, to say, yeah, okay, Donald Trump's in the government business. We had a chance to vote. We didn't vote him out if you voted against him. Let's see what he does. But I think we know what he's going to do. I know the 100 executive orders. Let's see. Let's see. Stock market was up today. Let's see if it's up or down on Tuesday. The market's closed on Monday. MLK Day. It's going to be cold. Like to close with a little loving kindness. The more we send that to you, the more it comes back to us. And so, check out my column on Inquirer.net, also on Substack. I'll put a new column out there today. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. We bid farewell to the Biden administration this weekend. Till next time.